You know what keeps so many people stuck? They spend their lives chasing attention, begging for validation, hoping someone else will finally see their worth. But here's the truth: you don't need their attention, you need your own growth. Respect doesn't come because you shout the loudest or demand to be noticed. Respect comes when you build yourself into someone who doesn't need to ask for it. When you grow, when you discipline yourself, when you turn pain into power, people can't help but see it. You stop playing small games of trying to be liked, and you start playing the big game of becoming undeniable. Attention is cheap, it fades, but respect is earned through consistency, through character, through the person you choose to become every single day. Attention is like smoke, it rises fast. It looks big. It gets people's eyes for a moment, but then it disappears into the air as if it was never there. That's the trap so many people fall into. They run around chasing likes, chasing approval, chasing someone to notice them, thinking that's going to give them value, but attention is cheap. It doesn't cost people anything to give you a like, to give you a glance, to throw a comment your way. Respect is different. Respect is the currency of trust, of consistency, of power. Respect is what remains long after the applause stops, long after people scroll past, long after the spotlight moves to the next person. And the only way you earn respect is by growing yourself into someone worthy of it. When you beg for attention, you put yourself in a position of weakness. You're basically saying, I need you to give me worth. But when you earn respect, you create worth from within, and people can't help but recognize it. Think about it. When someone walks into a room and you can feel their presence, that's not attention they've begged for. That's respect they've built through who they've become. You don't get that by chasing eyes. You get that by chasing growth. Growth is the foundation that transforms everything. When you focus on building yourself, your skills, your mindset, your health, your discipline, you stop worrying about who's watching. You stop worrying about being noticed. Because eventually, the results of your growth speak louder than anything you could post, louder than anything you could beg for. Respect is not in your words, it's in your actions over time. It's in the consistency that proves you're serious. People respect what's real. They respect strength, but not just physical strength. They respect emotional strength, the strength to keep going when things are hard, the strength to rise when you've fallen, the strength to stay disciplined when distractions are everywhere. You don't earn that kind of respect by asking for it. You earn it by living it. And here's the truth. The world doesn't respect talk, it respects results. Anyone can say they're working hard, anyone can say they're focused. But when you actually live it, when your life shows it, when your results prove it, that's when people stop underestimating you and start respecting you. Respect lasts because it's not given lightly. It's not cheap like attention. That's why it feels different when you have it. Attention can give you a quick rush, but it leaves you empty, always needing more. Respect fills you because it reflects the work you've put in, the character you've built, the person you've become. And when you have respect, you don't have to chase people anymore. They come to you. They want to learn from you. They want to be around you. They want to connect with you because they can see the growth in you. They can feel it. The problem is too many people want respect without the price of growth. They want the outcome without the process. But growth is where the magic happens. Growth is what builds that foundation of respect brick by brick. Every time you wake up and stick to your habits, every time you choose discipline over distraction, every time you keep going when quitting would have been easy, you're laying another brick. And one day, people look at what you've built and they can't deny it. That's respect. The choice is always in front of you. Do you want to live your life begging for scraps of attention, hoping someone notices you for a second? Or do you want to build yourself so solid, so strong, so undeniable that people can't help but respect you even if they don't want to? That's the difference between chasing attention and earning respect. One leaves you empty, the other builds you into someone unstoppable. People spend so much time looking outward, waiting for validation, waiting for someone else to give them permission to shine. They scroll through feeds comparing themselves to people who look like they're winning, and deep down they're asking, when will it be my turn? But here's the truth. Your turn starts the moment you stop waiting and start building. Nobody is coming to crown you. Nobody is going to hand you the respect, the influence, or the success you're hoping for. You have to claim it, and you claim it by focusing on becoming someone powerful from the inside out. Think about it. The people you admire, the ones you can't help but respect, they didn't get there by chasing others or begging for attention. They got there because they invested in themselves relentlessly. They studied, they trained, they failed, they learned, they stayed consistent. They built something inside that no one could take away, and that's why people respect them, because you can't fake it. You can fake attention with filters, with clever captions, with pretending to be something you're not, but you cannot fake growth. Growth is proven in the way you carry yourself, in the way you handle adversity, in the results you produce over time. When you make the decision to turn inward and grow, everything changes. You stop chasing things that don't matter, because you realize you're in control of the one thing that actually does matter. You. Your mindset, your energy, your habits, your resilience, your vision. These are the things that build respect. Because when people see someone who is consistently leveling up, who doesn't quit when it's tough, who doesn't need the applause to keep going, they pay attention in a different way. They don't just notice you, they respect you. Respect is born in the silence when nobody's watching. It's built in the late nights, in the early mornings, in the moments where you choose discipline instead of distraction. It's built in the times you say no to instant gratification because you're playing the long game. Attention is about what people see in the moment. Respect is about what people come to believe about you over time. And the only way they believe it is when your growth is undeniable. Here's the problem. Too many people are afraid of the process. Growth is uncomfortable. Growth forces you to confront your weaknesses, your insecurities, your excuses. Growth demands sacrifice. That's why people run toward attention instead. It's easier. It's a quick fix. But just because it's easier doesn't mean it's better. Growth is the grind, but growth is what creates the version of you that commands respect. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real, being relentless, being willing to do the work most people won't do. When you grow, you don't need to talk about it. Your results speak for you. Your confidence shifts. Your energy shifts. The way you walk into a room shifts. And suddenly, the people who ignored you before are watching differently. They may not say it out loud, but inside they're thinking, this person is different. This person is going somewhere. That's the quiet power of growth. It pulls respect toward you without you ever having to beg for it. But the best part about focusing on growth is that it doesn't just earn you respect from others. It earns you respect from yourself. And that's the respect that matters most. When you look in the mirror and you know you're putting in the work. When you know you're pushing past your comfort zone. When you know you're becoming stronger, sharper, more disciplined. That's where real confidence is born. And when you respect yourself, the opinions of others lose their grip on you. You don't need their attention anymore because you've built something more powerful inside. Respect flows from growth because growth makes you unshakable. You stop being defined by whether people clap for you, whether they notice you, whether they approve of you. You become defined by the standards you hold for yourself, by the vision you're committed to, by the progress you make day after day. And that's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes people want to be around you, to learn from you, to align with you. Most people spend their lives trying to be noticed, trying to be liked, trying to be accepted. They bend, they shrink, they mold themselves into what they think will win approval. But here's the reality: attention is not power. It's temporary, it's fragile, and it fades as quickly as it comes. Respect, on the other hand, is built on substance. It's built on who you become, not who you pretend to be. And the way you build that substance is by putting in the work that nobody else sees. The kind of work that forges a stronger version of you from the inside out. You don't need to play small to win attention. You don't need to compromise your values just to get people to notice you. Because the moment you stop chasing the spotlight and start focusing on your own growth, you begin to develop a different kind of presence. A presence that doesn't scream for attention, but naturally commands it. Not because you're asking for it, but because people can feel the weight of who you are becoming. Respect doesn't require a performance. It requires consistency, authenticity, and evidence of progress. Think about the times you've respected someone. It wasn't because they begged you to like them. It wasn't because they tried to convince you they were important. It was because you saw something in them that felt real. Strength, discipline, resilience, character. Maybe it was the way they handled failure, the way they showed up even when it was hard, the way they didn't fold under pressure. That's what sticks. That's what makes you stop and think, I can't ignore this person. And that's exactly what happens when you stop chasing and start growing. You give people something undeniable to respect. When you're chasing attention, you're handing over your power. You're making your worth dependent on whether or not someone else claps for you, likes your photo, or validates your efforts. But when you're focused on growth, you take your power back. You're no longer living for their approval. You're living for your own evolution. And the paradox is that the very moment you stop needing their attention is the moment they start noticing you in a different way. Because nothing is more attractive, nothing is more magnetic than someone who doesn't need to be noticed. Growth creates gravity. People are drawn to strength. They're drawn to authenticity. They're drawn to someone who knows who they are and refuses to compromise. And you only get there by doing the hard work that builds you into that kind of person. By facing your fears instead of running from them. By sharpening your skills instead of pretending you already know enough. By raising your standards and refusing to settle. That's where respect is earned, and it's earned quietly, steadily, over time. Respect is not loud. It doesn't need to be. It comes when people look at you and say, this person is different. They may not even say it out loud, but they feel it. They notice the way you carry yourself, the way you show up, the way you don't get shaken by every little thing. They notice that you don't have to chase, because you've built yourself into someone who naturally attracts what matters. Respect doesn't come from begging for it. It comes from becoming someone worthy of it. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Building yourself is harder than chasing others. Chasing feels easier because it gives you a quick shot of validation, even if it's shallow. Growth demands patience. It demands discipline. It demands a willingness to be uncomfortable and to keep going when nobody is watching, when nobody is cheering you on. But that's the very process that turns you into someone strong enough to be respected. Attention is borrowed, respect is earned. When you stop begging to be seen and start committing to your own growth, you step into a new level of freedom. You stop worrying about whether people are paying attention because you know you're building something real inside of you. You stop chasing what doesn't matter because you're too busy creating a future where people can't ignore you. And it's not because you demanded their respect, it's because you built yourself into someone they had no choice but to respect. Respect is not given because you ask for it. It's earned because of the weight you carry in your character. People respect those who demonstrate strength, who live with discipline, who operate with integrity even when no one is watching. And the truth is, you don't need to shout for it, you don't need to demand it, you don't need to beg for it. Respect flows naturally to those who build themselves into people of value. It's not about titles, it's not about followers, it's not about status. It's about the undeniable evidence of growth, the unshakable consistency of who you are becoming. Think about the leaders you've admired in your own life. The mentors, the role models, the individuals who made you stop and pay attention. Did they ever have to scream for you to listen? No. They had something deeper than words. They carried themselves differently. They had the kind of presence that made you lean in because you could feel the authenticity behind what they did. That's the power of respect. It's quiet, but it's powerful. It doesn't rely on attention. It creates its own gravity. But here's where most people go wrong. They chase the applause before they've built the character. They want the recognition without the foundation. They try to manipulate others into respecting them instead of putting in the work to become someone worth respecting. That's why their respect never lasts. You don't hold on to respect by demanding it. You hold on to it by consistently proving through your actions that you deserve it. When people watch you grow, when they see you overcome challenges, when they see you stay true to your word, that's when respect becomes undeniable. And it all begins with you setting higher standards for yourself. Respect doesn't come from what you want. It comes from what you demand of yourself. Do you cut corners when no one is looking? Do you keep the promises you make to yourself? Do you stay disciplined when it would be easier to quit? Because that's where respect is earned, not from others, but from within. When you respect yourself first, when you live in alignment with your own values, you naturally carry an energy that people notice. They can see that you don't tolerate mediocrity from yourself, and that makes them unable to treat you with anything less than respect. Respect is rooted in consistency. It's not about one big moment where you prove yourself. It's about 1,000 small choices stacked on top of each other. The choice to keep going when it would be easier to give up. The choice to be honest when lying might save you. The choice to take ownership when things go wrong instead of blaming others. Those choices may not win you attention right away, but over time they build a reputation. And reputation is what people respect. It's the accumulation of all the moments you chose growth over comfort, discipline over excuses, and integrity over shortcuts. You've probably noticed that the people who demand respect rarely get it. Why? Because respect can't be forced. It's not something you pull out of people with pressure or threats. It's a reflection. It mirrors back to you what you've put out into the world. If you've been shallow, if you've been inconsistent, if you've been fake, the reflection you get will be weak. But if you've been real, if you've built yourself with discipline and authenticity, that reflection will be strong. People can feel the difference between someone pretending to be worthy of respect and someone who has earned it through who they've become. The moment you shift from asking for respect to earning it, everything changes. You stop obsessing over whether people notice you because you know you're building something undeniable. You stop needing to prove yourself to everyone else because you've proven yourself to yourself. And the funny thing is, that's when people start noticing anyway, because respect isn't something you have to chase. It's something that meets you on the path of growth. Respect is not about how loud you are or how many people you can convince with your words. It's about who you become when no one's watching. The truth is, people are drawn to strength, to certainty, to authenticity. When you focus on growing yourself, when you invest in your mindset, your discipline, your habits, you naturally begin to radiate an energy that others can't ignore. You don't need to run after anyone for their approval, because approval is fragile. It can be given one day and taken away the next. But respect, real respect, comes when you've proven that you are solid, that you don't bend with every storm, that you're unshakable in who you are and what you stand for. Too many people spend their time chasing after validation, desperate to be liked, desperate to be seen. And what happens when you do that? You put yourself in a weaker position. You hand over your power to someone else. You're telling them that their opinion of you is more important than your own opinion of yourself. And the more you chase, the more they pull away, because people don't respect desperation. They respect confidence. They respect people who are grounded, who don't need to beg for attention, who are too focused on building themselves to worry about whether someone else approves. Respect is built through discipline. When you say you're going to do something and you actually follow through, that's respect. When you show up consistently, even when it's hard, that's respect. When you hold yourself to a higher standard and refuse to cut corners, that's respect. People are watching, even when you think they're not, and over time, the consistency of your actions creates a reputation that says, this person is reliable, this person is strong, This person doesn't fold under pressure. That reputation will carry more weight than any amount of begging for someone's attention ever could. The key is to stop asking, how do I get them to respect me? And start asking, how do I respect myself more deeply? Because the truth is, you can't demand respect from anyone if you don't give it to yourself first. If you break promises to yourself, if you constantly let yourself off the hook, if you tolerate your own excuses, you're eroding your own self-respect. And when you don't respect yourself, why would anyone else? People can feel it, they can see it. They sense when you're walking around hoping for approval because you haven't approved of yourself yet. The most magnetic people are the ones who don't try to be magnetic. They don't beg to be noticed, they don't chase applause, they don't need validation. They're too focused on building, too focused on growing, too focused on becoming. That's what makes them stand out. That's what makes people respect them. It's not about showing off or trying to look impressive. It's about doing the inner work that makes you impressive without saying a word. You walk differently when you know you've put in the work. You carry yourself differently when you've earned your own respect. That difference doesn't need to be announced, it's felt. Think about this. If you stopped chasing everyone else's attention for just a moment, what could you build with all that energy? What skills could you master? What habits could you strengthen? What dreams could you actually bring to life? That's where respect is born, not in the approval of others, but in the relentless pursuit of your own potential. When you're so consumed with becoming the best version of yourself, you don't even have time to beg for attention. And ironically, that's when people start paying attention, because people are always drawn to growth. They can't ignore someone who's leveling up again and again. Respect also requires patience. You don't earn it overnight. It's the product of showing up day after day, stacking wins, staying true to your word, doing the hard things when no one else is willing. That consistency builds trust, and trust is the foundation of respect. People may admire a flash of success, but they only respect what lasts. And what lasts is built slowly, deliberately, brick by brick, through your actions. And you don't have to talk about it. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to prove yourself with words. The results of your growth will speak louder than anything you could say. People may not compliment you. They may not even acknowledge it at first, but they notice. They see when you're changing. They see when you're consistent. They see when you've leveled up. And even if they never say it out loud, deep down, they respect it. Respect is not something you ask for. It's something you earn, and the way you earn it isn't by trying to please everyone around you. It's by becoming the kind of person who commands it. When you shift your focus from chasing external approval to growing yourself, your entire energy changes. People can feel it. They can see it without you saying a word, because respect isn't about what you tell people you are. It's about what you've proven through your actions, your discipline, and your consistency. You don't need to convince anyone when your life already shows it. Think about it. When you're begging for attention, when you're chasing after people to notice you, you're telling them that they are more valuable than you are. You're putting yourself beneath them, and nobody respects someone who puts themselves beneath others just to be liked. Respect doesn't flow to those who beg for it. It flows to those who set standards, who refuse to compromise who they are, who know their value and don't trade it for crumbs of validation. When you become that person, you won't have to ask for respect. People will give it because they see strength. Respect begins with you holding yourself accountable. If you want others to see you as reliable, consistent, trustworthy, then you have to live that way every single day. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you commit to a goal, follow through. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, you don't just build your own self-respect. You earn the respect of those watching, and don't fool yourself. People are always watching. Even when they don't say a word, they're noticing. They're noticing how you carry yourself, whether you fold under pressure, whether you stay disciplined or make excuses. And over time, they start to trust your strength because they've seen it in action. That's the foundation of real respect: consistency. Not big speeches, not trying to look impressive, but showing up again and again with integrity. You don't have to announce that you're disciplined if you're actually disciplined. You don't have to declare that you're strong if you've been through the fire and kept moving. People respect results. They respect actions. They respect what you've built with your own hands, not what you've told them about yourself. And here's the truth: respect doesn't come from being perfect, it comes from being real. People respect authenticity. They respect someone who is honest about their journey, about their struggles, about their growth. When you hide your flaws, when you try to project an image just to be liked, people sense it and it creates distance. But when you stand fully in who you are, when you're not afraid to admit your challenges, but also show that you won't let those challenges break you, that's where respect grows. Because people don't connect with perfection, they connect with truth. Respect also comes from boundaries. If you let people treat you however they want, if you allow disrespect because you're afraid of losing their approval, you teach them that your value is negotiable. But when you set boundaries, when you draw the line and say, "This is not acceptable," people may not like it at first, but they will respect it. Because respect is rooted in strength, and strength requires the courage to say no when something doesn't align with your values. Every time you stand firm in your boundaries, you reinforce your own worth, and the stronger your self-worth, the more natural respect becomes. But the most powerful respect of all is the one you give yourself. Because here's the reality: if you don't respect yourself, if you don't honor your own word, your own goals, your own growth, you will always be vulnerable to begging for scraps of respect from others. Self-respect is the foundation. It's built in the quiet moments. When you wake up early to work on yourself even though no one is watching. When you keep promises to yourself that no one else would know if you broke. When you choose growth over comfort again and again. Those private victories build a kind of confidence that no one can take away, and when you walk with that kind of confidence, people notice. You don't need to ask for their respect, because your very presence commands it. You can spend your life chasing attention, trying to be liked, begging for recognition, but all of that is temporary. Respect is different. Respect lasts. Respect doesn't fade when trends shift or opinions change. Respect is built on the bedrock of who you are, not what others say about you. And once you've built it, no one can take it away from you because it wasn't given by them. It was created by you.